Good morning. Let's get busy. Okay, yesterday, I think I did this shot yesterday, and then this shot, and Mel is about to leap at the monkey, and that's where we're at. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually reuse this shot because it's got a lot of the structure we need. So let's do that. That's going to be number 251, and I want to check against my storyboard. This is going to be 253. So I'm going to literally immediately save this as dash 253.ping. Krita's going to warn me I'm saving over the actual storyboard image, and we're also going to save it at the same time as a Krita file. Okay, so now I need to take a drink of my tasty beverage, which at 10:15 a.m. on Electoral College Day happens to be coffee. Okay, so this is where we ended up at the end of the previous shot. So let's take everything about monkey here and delete it. The way we do that is we click here, hit shift, click there, and then for me, the hotkey shift control X deletes deletes those keyframes. So now that we can pull that key back to there, and now we have just our static image. Okay, so got a couple choices we need to make. I had mentioned yesterday in the video, saving early, saving often as usual, by the way. Okay, I mentioned yesterday that that there's another shot of Mel where his arms, head, and really his torso are all sort of detached from one another so they can be animated separately. I'll tell you in this case, going back to that earlier shot, if we did it, we'd have to draw all the ink in, get that all up to date. And I don't know. I think it's probably questionable whether it's that valuable of a move anyway. Now, what I am wondering, though, is about our framing. Up until now, this framing's been okay, if not necessarily great. In terms of being on the rule of thirds, you can kind of see where the rule of thirds would put you. You know, we're okay. If not, like I said, it's not great, but it's not too bad. Problem is, Mel's going to be let's just go ahead and actually put a annotation layer here. What's actually going to happen here is Mel's going to jump this way. So I think that it would probably be wise to reframe the shot a little bit. So let's do it this way. Let's select all these layers and hit Control G so that we put them in a group. Okay. So now, because they're in a group, if we do a transformation of the group, everything in the group gets likewise transformed. So what I'm going to do is click, then I'm going to hit Control Shift, and it's going to move everything. And by the way, to be perfectly accurate, I don't know that this is necessarily going to work that well. If we go, in fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I really want to make it bigger. I think really what I want to do is just move it over this way, actually. Let's just do that. Okay. So now everything in the shot is already all ready to go. And I'm going to look at one little more thing. I actually wonder if this should actually be a wider shot too. Let's try that. Okay, now let's zoom in. By the way, I was dinking around with my Krita optimizations, and I went into configure Krita, and my animation cache was on disk instead of in memory. And also these were on. Limit the cached frame size and use region of interest. When I turned these off, I don't think this made much of a difference, but switching to in memory instead of on disk actually made a huge difference. So that when I loaded a really big scene with lots of layers, the animation cached much more quickly. In other words, it stored in memory. Okay, so now what I need to do is let's see. Should we scale this just a little bit? So I'm just going to kind of play with this a little bit. All right. So what if we put that there? Is it still working? Yeah, it's still working. Okay. So now what if we dupe this layer? This is a bit of a kludge what I'm about to do here, but it's worth a try. I'm actually going to just cheat and wrap the background around like that, and then take the liquefy tool and see if we can actually just sort of mush this into place and make it work. Talk about a kludge. Talk about cheating. Oh yeah, I'm big on cheating. Okay, we're going to have to do a little painting there, because obviously our river situation's a little bit winky. So we'll just make that all line up okay. And now you can kind of see what the problem is. Yeah, our basket is part of the background. Okay, let's see what this is. This is monkey, and so yeah, I'm going to turn monkey off for the moment, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Control E and bake down the background. And now let's just actually I'm hitting G, which for me is mapped to the Freehand path tool, and I'm going to just make some real quick fixes here. I use the Freehand path tool because it allows me to quickly just lasso areas and paint them that way. Okay, so I don't even know if that's needed, but this probably is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to leave it on the Freehand path tool. Oops. Not too bad, actually. Let's turn the size down a bit and see what happens. So this is actually just a bit of an experiment that I'm doing. That's better. Okay. So as you can see, when you use the Freehand path tool, you do get the underlying brush doing its thing, as you would sort of expect. So I'm going to just go ahead and just kind of paint a few ditties in there, and I think we're okay. Okay, so now let's go to, I'm switching to my pencil, but I'm actually leaving it on the Freehand path tool. And the reason I'm doing it that way is so I can just get the, like the brush shape that I just mentioned. I actually want the smaller brush that you get with the pencil, but I still want to be able to just draw lasso areas. Okay, so that looks fine. That looks just fine. Okay, so let's turn monkey back on, and you can see monkey's definitely got a problem. So let's go to monkey. This is a merged group right now, so we need to rename that. And let's select that color. We'll hit the F key to just fill monkey in. Then back to the Freehand path tool so that we can, and by the way, by default the Freehand path tool always does precision of curve, which basically does some post stroke smoothing. 9 times out of 10 that, in my experience, looks worse, not better. It usually starts rounding things out and smoothing things out in a way that you really didn't ask for. So I always switch it to raw, and unfortunately Krita never remembers that setting, so it's kind of a drag, but there are worse things in the world. Okay. I'm going to just do it like this. I don't know if that's going to look the greatest, but let's give it a crack. All right, so okay, so yeah, the thing that I'm seeing being problematic here is that I've got some of the monkey's proportions wrong. His head really needs to be down more like that. That looks better. And I would say probably his feet are a little bit too far down. So I'm just going to actually hit the E key to go into erase mode so I can do a lasso erase, S key to grab this, A key to go into the transform tool. I'm going to stretch that up a little bit like that. And I'm actually going to redraw that. I'm probably moving a little faster than I should. Whoops. Need to get that E key working. Okay. So I'm going to redraw that. Okay, that's probably okay. Okay, so monkey's been tormenting Mel. Okay, so now a fair question to ask would be, how might we use this extra layer to plan out our work? When I was watching the Darren T live stream the other day, somebody asked a question about that, about planning out animation, and it kind of harkens back to the question of why I use Krita, because you don't have animation tools that kind of sort of make your life easier in the sense of doing tweening for you. I've said repeatedly that in practice, it turns out if you're actually doing the work and hacking away at it, turns out that doesn't actually matter very often at all, especially if you're talking about just a garden variety camera move, because I can do that in my editor. You know, I can just take the whole shot and move it, and having parallax where the layers move at different rates and stuff really isn't that important that much of the time. Once in a while it is, but usually it's not. So anyway, what am I getting at here? Well, this shot really needs to have Mel already in motion, okay, to be clear. But what I didn't really say in the live stream the other day, because there's not time to say it in, you know, a shorter than tweet style message on someone's chat, is why not have a single layer that you use to actually block out all your animation before you ever actually try to do it. What are you talking about, Dave? I'll show you. Okay, first of all, let's say Mel's head is essentially a triangle. Okay? It's really a triangle. It's really a trapezoid, but okay, so we'll do a trapezoid. Okay, so, and by the way, to do lasso erasing and then immediate drawing, so draw, and then lasso erase, and then back to drawing. The way you do that in Krita is you hit the B key to draw. Oops, don't want to be in erase mode. Hit the B key, and then you hit. I have mapped. You want this, the freehand path tool, which I have mapped to the hotkey of the letter G. So I go GE. So that does the freehand path tool in erase mode. Boom, and then I go BE, which switches back to the brush and turns erase mode off. And I find myself going GE, BE a lot. Okay, so what I want to do now is actually, I think I'm going to use this brush because it's a little bolder. So the idea is that based on where we were at when Mel started to leap in the close-up, this is essentially what we have. Now let's focus only on what's going to really be moving here. Okay? His shoulders, his trapezoid head, and obviously his arms. So I'm going to say, let's give him an elbow there. And let's put his arm out like this. Okay, so let's just say that's our position. All right. Now what we want to do is I'm just gonna pick a different color. All right. And as I often say in these videos, as I say, go from the known to the unknown. So what do I know here? what I can kind of feel as I'm looking at this is I can feel where I want his head to go. So let's just say, and you know, I could make a mistake and wind up having to redo this, but let's just give this a try. Let's just say I want his head to go from here to here. Okay? And by the time he gets to there, his arms are going to be up with his hands down, kind of like, you know, he's really going to be ready to catch monkey. Okay? Well, if that happened, his waist would be here, and obviously, let's see, we'd have a knee here, and this knee could be kind of an extension of this one, but it's just kind of still anchored a little bit to the ground. It's going to slide a little bit, but okay. And if we did this, then I guess his foot would have to be something like that. All right, now let's just go to blue. And let's just, again, going from the known to the unknown, this is what we're going to see. Did I say toroidal when I meant trapezoidal? I can't remember what I said, if I said toroidal. If I did, I'm an idiot. I meant to say his head is a trapezoid. I think I might have said toroidal, but anyway. Okay, so I'm going to lay his feet out like that. Actually, I think I'm going to hit undo on that one, which for me is, I'm going to actually have his feet come down, and so his knees basically slam on the ground. Okay, and let's have his hands go like this, so they're crossing. If you can see this, shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand. Okay, so his arms are crossing each other. I'll just make this a little different color so it stands out. Right, so that arm is in front of this one. Like so. Give him a little angry face. Okay, so now the question becomes, what kind of rate are we talking about to accomplish this? Well, we can find out pretty quickly this way. On our sketch layer that I just created as a guide over top, I actually can go like this. Just take this this keyframe. My suspicion is at 8 frames a second that we're actually not going to have any tweens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit GE, and on this third frame, I'm going to erase everything except the blue. On this frame, I'm going to erase everything except the green. Kind of have to be a little careful so that we're not erasing stuff we don't want to erase that we want to still be able to refer to. So it doesn't need to be clean. It doesn't need to look good. It's just got to be able to be understood. There you go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, remember, in this shot, Mel's already in motion. So let's just take 8 frames, which is 1 second. There's no way a leap like this is going to take a full second, but let's just see what happens. Okay, I would say this. I would say, let's go to 5 frames. Let's split it up this way. Let me just check the timing on that real quick, but I think I know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll put a tween here in between these two. All right, so I'm just going to hit insert. And for this very unusual case, what I'm going to do is solo the layer and go ahead and turn on the onion skins. Okay, so now looking at the heads, again, we know the head's going to already be in motion. His shoulder's going from here to here, so let's kind of go like that and have it scrunch upwards just a little bit. And by the way, I want to be in brush mode, not freehand path tool. Okay, in this frame, his hands are already out, but in this frame, they're way back here. So I'm going to say that his hand needs to be moving rapidly to this second position, and the very gravity of it would cause his wrist to be bent way back. Okay, so This other hand, I want this to be able to be read. What I mean by read is it's obvious where his hand is here, and it's pretty obvious where his hand is here. Well, I don't want it to move across this arc here because it would be impossible to see what's going on. So for the sake of making it easier for my audience, I'm going to say that this hand is going to move this way. And because we're at 8 frames a second, we simply don't have time to stick in a tween that gets the arm from here to here to here. Right? So we're just going to put in this tween and should be good to go. All right. Torso kind of goes from here to here to here. So that looks pretty good. Doesn't look like we've got any indication of his knee. So let's go to this frame and we'll just put those markers there for his knees, and then here's where his knees are in the next frame. So we're going from here to here. So yeah, it's not actually that much of a change. So we'll go probably about there. Honestly, that doesn't make sense. I'm going to amend that. I'm hitting S key to lasso this and then shift to select, to expand the selection. I'm going to hit the A key and just bring those back down and say that his knees should not leave the ground. Okay, I'm leaving this key blank right here because I actually want him to hold up in the air for, you know, a fraction of a second, a very short fraction of a second. So that gives us, let's go ahead and turn this off. Well, I should say turn it on. No, I mean what we're doing is we're soloing the layer. Okay. So now just for just for completeness and to make it clear, I'm going to go ahead and delineate. Okay. All right, let's just see how it plays. So we'll just go about 1 second. I actually think this should be out one more frame. So it'd be boom, boom. So it's less real, but more entertaining. And I don't think we gain anything from putting a tween between here and here, from being in this up position, which I guess we could maybe clarify this a little bit. There's his wristband. There's his hand. Here's his other hand. Right? There's his headband, his hair flying all over the place. He leaps up in the air like so. And to go from that to this, I don't think tweening it's going to help. So it's going to be all right. And this shot is going to be, let's give it 16 frames, I'd say. Boom, boom. Okay. After you change the start or end or the frame rate, any of those, click somewhere. Click anywhere. Click a tool. Click something. Because if you don't, I mentioned this yesterday, but the next hotkey that you press is going to actually cause, like if I hit the letter A to grab the free transform tool, what will actually happen is Krita will stick the letter A in this little box, and then my playback will be all screwed up. Okay, so I'm hitting the tilde key, which for me is the isolate layer mode. And now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and see what we can do with Mel, actually. Okay, so for our purposes, I'm going to just take this pose of Mel and move it way downstream so that I have it as a reference. All right. Now what I'm going to do is take Mel's head and carefully select it. XV. Okay, I put his head on a separate layer, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the A key, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror it horizontally. and move it over here. Okay, and now we can keep following through with this. We can always change this. We can always go in and draw, you know, if I want his eyes to look real big and excited as he is about to land on his prey, meaning the monkey. That's fine. Can always do that, but this at least gets it blocked in there. And here I would say his head's slightly larger because he is kind of moving towards the audience a little bit. Okay. I think pretty much nothing else is worth trying to salvage from Mel's initial. Maybe this first pose. Maybe the first pose. Let's do it. Okay, this is how I would do it. First thing I'm going to do is take this layer with Mel's head. I'm going to hit Control E and bake it down. So now Mel's head is baked back in with the body. Okay, so this is just to see if we can get away with this. I'm going to grab his arm, hit the A key. I'm going to mirror it vertically. Yeah, I think so. And I'm going to go like that, and yeah, indeed, that actually works, unbelievably. S, I'm going to grab his torso. This is going to be a complete joke, but we'll do it anyway. And then we'll be able to steal the colors and use them. So I'm just going to drag that over there. Actually, strike that. Let's mirror this horizontally. Boom. And then we'll drag it over like that. And then liquefy it. Okay. As you can see, Krita conveniently limits the influence of the liquefy tool to the selection. So, okay, cool. That worked. And then I'm going to hit the S key again to grab his arm. Actually, I'm hitting the Shift key. This is going to be... Yeah, this is pretty questionable, but you got to remember at the same time that he's really, really in motion here. So, truth of the matter is, I'm probably going to get away with this on this cell, this frame. And then from here, we need to really start drawing properly. So the only thing I'm going to leave is on this frame, I'm going to leave his knees just because we need them there as a reference. And then here we'll just go ahead and take it out. And likewise, here we will take it out. Okay, so what does that give us? Boom. Boom. That works. Okay. He's moving fast, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the G key, and I want to take this guide layer and kind of turn it down. Just up enough so we can kind of see what's going on. In fact, let's put it below Mel. Okay, so now let's go back to Mel, and we're going to go Control or Shift Alt Q, which puts us in behind mode. And now I can take the G key, which is our freehand path tool, and just block in his torso. Okay, here. Hey, baby. And same thing here, like so. Now, yeah, see, now that's a little problematic. I honestly, the basket should really be in a... I guess it doesn't really matter because, frankly, he's going to be more over it than under it. So why did that chop out a little... Oh, I know what it did. Hang on, let me fix that. Okay. Boom. And by the way, for those of you that are shrieking about the monkey, you are correct. The monkey's definitely going to have to be moved. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna definitely be making a lot of tweaks to this. Okay, so now let's do his arm. We're gonna do his right arm. So let's give him a shoulder. Let's give him a forearm. I don't want him to be too skinny. Let's give him a couple toroidal hands. Again, we don't have to be too picky here because he is pretty fast in motion. Now here we've got to be more picky. We do not need to be in behind mode anymore. Now we gotta now we'll go back to behind mode. And actually, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter what mode it's in since it's all the same solid color anyway. Okay. So that at least gives us the concept. Ooh, boom. Okay, that's 30 minutes. Let's keep rocking. Okay. We'll worry about shadows a bit later. So we're not going to concern ourselves with shadows yet. Okay. Can always add the shadows. See how it plays. Boom. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is grab a little bit of a don't want that brush. Okay, let's go back to our... Better save our work, by the way. Should be in brush brush mode, not freehand path mode. Okay, let's go back here. And what we're going to do actually is let's simply hide his mouth, and we'll do a couple little fixes here on the art. Obviously we got a pretty significant issue right there. Not sure how or when I split his hair like that, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Let's just keep rocking here. This is going to be the shadow. And I would say let's just go ahead and make like that. You'll see here in a minute that I'm going to be editing his mouth. Okay. Alright, let's grab that color. Maybe slightly darker. And here we go. Alright. Okay. Beaky. So, yeah, it's very loose. Very loose. But again, it's really in fast motion, so we got some latitude. Now I'm going to go ahead and toy with having his teeth grimace together there. Let's see. I like it. Okay. I'm gonna say, let's take, what is this? Oh, that's our sketch. Okay, our sketch layer we can get rid of. It has served its purpose. Okay, and now Mel, what I want to do is add one more layer here. And let's just liquefy that boy as a test. And if this works, then I'll probably redo it after I've finished the shadows and whatnot. So alright, I just want to see what a little squash and stretch looks like there. Wow. It goes by so fast you don't even see it. Wowzers. This is one of those shots where it's really tempting to be at 12 frames a second, but I'm not going to do it. I am not going to do it. Okay, we need to have at least one other top level layer. Otherwise, Krita doesn't know to save it as a Krita file. Okay, so I'm going to just do a little test here just to see what happens. You know, guys, I hate to do it, but I have to admit this looks better. Especially if I take this Mel, because remember, let's just keep our perspective here. Not just trying to gratuitously get out of work, but look, the last thing we saw was that. Okay. So what really should be happening here is we take Mel, boom, and we take everything about Mel that's supposed to be in motion, and we do a motion blur on it. This needs to be long. This needs to be like 50. Okay, and I'm just going to zip that around like that. Okay, so when we enter the shot, that's what we're going to see. Boom. Boom. The only thing is, I'm going to hit the filter here as well, just to see what it feels like. Okay, not horrible, it's just in the wrong direction. So for testing purposes, that was fine, but what I really want to do is redo it so that the blur runs in the right direction. So there's our lens blur. Again, I think this time let's do a radius of, say, 35. Whoops, that's not what we wanted. Cancel that. Got the wrong blur there. I want motion blur. Okay, so let's do 35. Not quite as long as the other. And now let's just rotate this around. It's a little non-intuitive in terms of the directionality, but okay. Let's see how that feels. So we go plump, boom. Okay, not bad. The only thing I'm not liking about it is right down here. So let's save our work, save early, save often. Now let's just trim this up a bit. And hit the B key so we can clean this up. And I want to go ahead and I'll just hand paint this. Probably it should be slightly darker. Yeah. Save our work. Okay, and boy, are we going to have a nice crescendo of music through this whole boom, boom. Okay. So while we're here, let's do this. Let's take Monkey and liquefy him. I know. This is crazy, isn't it? We might as well just make like that. I'm not even going to motion blur it. Let's just see what happens. Okay, when it works, it works. And that definitely works. Okay, so now what we got to do here is on Mel, let's obviously fix that. Okay, because we don't want that to be in front of the... wow, that's hilarious. I can't believe how well that worked. So, little friendly cleanup here on Mel. And, you know, we're actually getting close to the end of the line here on this shot, believe it or not. Yeah, we're going to have to do our outlines the hard way, but let's just go ahead and let's just start knocking this out. All right, we'll deal with the shadows last. So we're on the melt layer, and we're going to hit the G key for the, again, the freehand path tool. We want everything to be black, maybe slightly, not quite fully black. And then we're going to just... Okay, that's that. The I would say here, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to grab that right there, go to the next layer, and I think, you know, it actually would be quite cool. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put this on another layer. XV. Okay. And now what we're going to do is A. Okay. And now as we go back, what we're going to do is rotate this. Okay, let's just double check this against our onion skins. Okay, and let's just do it like this. Hit the A key again. We'll just set that right there and then take this keyframe out so that it can just land. Okay. Okay. The monkey, I would say let's go ahead and motion blur it. So I'm going to grab monkey and we'll just hit F to see how it feels. Control F, I should say. Not sure. Let's turn that back off. I actually think I like it better without the motion blur. Okay. That falling quill pen, or feather really is what it is, really helps. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to finish up Mel. Alright, like so. Go to the Mel layer, right here, and B key. Now this does not have to be the most strictest we've ever done, since obviously he's in pretty crazy motion, but at the same time it is a hold. It is a hold. We are going to be locked on this frame for a bit. So we need to remember his wrist wraps, by the way. I tend to forget them. Let's not do that. Let's be a little more careful here. Oops. And yes, he does need some kind of feet / sandals. Whoops. Now, not so much over here. Over here, I'm actually gonna, darn it, I'm gonna leave that like that, so it implies that his foot is sort of hidden behind. He does have his belt, but for this stuff, I'm gonna keep this real loose and sketchy. So let's go ahead and complete. Frankly, here, we don't need much in the way of detail here. I'll go ahead and grab the purple for his wrist wraps. and then back to brownish for that. But basically, this is the one we need to be concerned about. All right, so just hitting the E key there. Oh, this shot's turning out to be kind of fun, actually. But that's not a big surprise since I tend to enjoy action. I am, after all, an animator. That was a little bit of a play on a line from Beast Wars where, what was his name? Noble. I don't think his name was Noble, but he was a very noble character. The one that was like a... Oh, brother. He was kind of a... Well, his main persona was that of a hound or a dog or a wolf or something, so he was wired for loyalty. I'm trying to remember the names now as I'm talking about it. He basically started having a thing with Black Arachnia, and boy, I don't remember his name at the moment. But basically what happened was he was out on this kind of a bridge thing before he and Black Arachnia were officially a thing. Black Arachnia's pointed a gun at him. I think this is what it was. And he accepted the fact that she was going to shoot him, which she had just threatened him that he would do if he wouldn't leave her alone. And he said, "You are, after all, a Predacon." That's where I stole that. Just as I am, after all, an animator. Sort of. Not a great animator. There are some aspects of this work that I have talent for, and others that I have to work at quite a bit. Okay, so 5 key, save. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Boom! Definitely need the shadows. Okay, so maybe I can steal this. Whoops. Sorry. I want to go Control C, Control V. Okay. So that I can come back here. I'm just like cheating to the hilt here. Alright, and then I'm going to go A key. Nice. Okay, so nothing there, nothing there. And we need to insert a key here so that effectively erases it. And then we can take this paint layer that we just created with the foot on it and hit Control E to bake it down. And now the foot is baked into the shot, and I just saved myself a bunch of work having to redraw his foot. Wow. Okay, so the only thing really left would be basically fingers, right? So let's go G key, and I'm going to go ahead and make this kind of like, I'm suggesting sort of a demonic attitude. Don't know if that's going to work, but I'm going to try it. I think so. Yeah, it's it's kind of a bit of a subtle message, and obviously here we will not do that. Okay, now back to our outline, hitting the B key, and we'll give him a little bit of a indication of some musculature. So this is where we're kind of having fun getting into our, let's just say, maybe Disney-ish style of exaggerated and hopefully somewhat comedic action. No, it's a lot of fun. This is where, this is the stuff that makes animation fun to do. Okay, so now let's say clean this up a bit for obvious reasons. And now we need to deal with shadowing. So I would say, let me see what this is. Okay, this is the feather, F-E-A-T-H-E-R. And so what we need here is a shadow layer. So SHD, this needs to be alpha locked, but problematically, what we need to do is get everything out of the group except Mel. So I'm going to move the background down, monkey down, book down. Now we've got Mel, shadow, and feather, and frankly, the feather should be above, and this is going to be the Mel group. And the reason I did that is because if the shadow layer is going to be alpha locked, it's going to be it's alpha lock, as I will demonstrate right here. Okay, is going to be locked to whatever is in the same group, which is going to be Mel. So if all this other stuff was in the same group, then effectively the whole area would have pixels that were colored in, and therefore the shadow would show up everywhere. Hope that makes sense. So now, that did not mean to do that. I did mean to do that. So now what we're going to do is insert a key here on the shadow layer. And then here, we need to go in and put shadows. So what we'll do is we'll just put in this basic shadow. Sorry, it's in erase mode. My bad. We'll put a basic shadow here, and then dial in its level of transparency, like so. And now we can go ahead and put in the rest of it. Like that. That's looking pretty fantastimodo, I'd say. Then we'll go here. And I think what I'll do is just insert the key here, put the shadow in there, and then we'll go in and copy that back over to the other layer. So, yep, that's working. And I'm not even going to worry about putting the shadow, having it bleed over onto the basket. I don't think that's really that important for what we're doing. So I'm going to say if we move this back to here, that's probably, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go like this. We'll make a copy of it. Oh, come on. I'm trying to move too fast right now because I'm sensing that I'm almost done. So here, what I want to do is apply the motion blur. So let's hit Control S to save our work, and then Control F to repeat the last filter. And folks, I do think our shot is done. File, save. So that took almost exactly 1 hour. And all right, so we'll cut it into the show. We might as well see how that's going to look because we got a lot more to do. So let's go Control R, and this is number 253. So we'll simply take this, change that to a 3, change that to a 3, and let it render. And by the time we're done rendering, we can jump up here, and you're going to see what this is going to look like. I think it's going to work really well. All right, 253, render, boom, at 16 frames, at 8 frames a second. Drag that baby in there, properties, disable resample, and let's just see. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. Not saying it's perfect, folks, but it's pretty close. I like what I'm seeing. I will say I am my own worst critic, and I would say that I definitely seem to be getting better and faster at making choices that turn out to have been the right one, I would say, because this is really looking pretty good to me. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the big screen for y'all, and then I would say we will be done. So here we go. I'm just going to roll back a bit. Let's look at this whole sequence I've been working on. This is, oh my gosh, this is 1 minute and 26 seconds. I guess we'll go from here. So this is going to be somewhere around 30 seconds. Oh, hey, little buddy. Trying to study. Monkey splits. Yeah, whatever, buddy. So he gets ready to write. I would say the feather needs to be more gray on that last shot. That might be redundant. Okay, so I really like what happened today on this shot. I will say that it has some problems. Editorially, it has some problems. I think that certainly if I was editing a live action movie where you didn't have so much work into every single 2 seconds of action, I'm really sure that I would be shortening this up. So I think, for one thing, like maybe this shot should end there as far as the monkey goes, not put the monkey back in, like having him pop out there. So let's just try this. So if Mel goes like this, sees his book, the book really needs to start moving a little quicker. I would say, yeah, that's too long as well. So boom. Let's just split this shot. Yeah, and that lasts too long. So, you know, we're really into trying to get the quality of editing that we're after. So there's really no room for compromise. Okay, that shot is simply too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this whole piece out. Doesn't need to be in there, so let's go there. Okay, now this is probably going to play a lot better. Yeah, I would almost be inclined to think that this break right here is a little too long as well. So split that. And you hate to do this because animation is so expensive in terms of the time it takes that you want to keep everything, but really, you got to be ruthless when it comes to editing. See, that just, it plays so much better. Let's go back here and see, and then we'll be done. Because we've already established the comedy of monkey popping in and popping out, right? Now here it works because Mel's still writing. I mean, there's something else going on. But once we get past that, we need to keep this thing moving. So boom, boom. And because it jumps back to Mel quickly, it's okay. And then this shot, I think, came out really well. So anyway, that's it, guys. That's it for now, and there will be more later.